Let's begin with Alzheimer's. I've been working with some people with Alzheimer's, and they come to see me when everything else has failed. That's when I see everybody. I'm not even in a bucket list, right? That bucket's been kicked into a grave someplace, and the people are just waiting to fall in. Their doctors say, nothing more we can do, sorry, go home, go to hospice care, and that's what they do. And then someone, a sister, a brother, a cousin, someone says, well, I heard this guy, I don't know if he's for real or not, I don't know if it's all nonsense or not, but I keep hearing people occasionally on his show who talk about having some recoveries from autism, from Alzheimer's, from Parkinson's, from multiple sclerosis, from end-stage cancers, and we don't know what it's about. And then I get the call, and then I sit with them, and I see if there's anything in the that can help them. And imagine being trapped in a mine. And this is just from something from last week. Imagine you've been in a mine collapse. What do you want to see? You want to see a speck of light. Because where there's a speck of light, there's hope, there's air, and there's a possibility of rescue. Well, we saw some specks of light in a very advanced Alzheimer's case. A person should, and the family agreed, be institutionalized. But for the first time, this person was able, according to the daughter, quote, who's 47, you won't believe what happened today. My mom got up, went to the bathroom, took a shower, brushed her teeth. For 20 full minutes, she was fully conscious and cognitive. Then she goes back in to this state of disorientation, and I said, well, that's your speck of light. And it's something that you should understand. One speck of light means you can start the process of recreating, even if it's just tiny little change. And sometimes people don't realize with any form of neurological disorder, little tiny changes, and I mean little, you got to pay attention to. Don't look for some gigantic miracle overnight. That ain't going to happen. It took a long time to create the amyloid plaque in the brain, for neurons to be destroyed, for mitochondria, the energy factories of the brain, to be diminished and made worthless, for the dendrites to snap so the brain can't carry a signal from point A to point B, so it has to go around, and that's where the confusion, that's where a person will suddenly talk to I actually saw someone talking to a fire extinguisher. And then you think, how's that possible? What's wrong? Well, the circuitry. So whatever helps works. This is the latest from New Zealand, University of Queensland, published in a peer-reviewed journal. Quote, Australian researchers come up with a non-invasive ultrasound technology that cleans the brain of neurotoxic amyloid plaques, structures that are responsible for memory loss and decline in cognitive function in Alzheimer's patients. In an Alzheimer's person, it's usually the result of a buildup of two types of lesions, amyloid plaques and neurofibrillary tangles. Amyloid plaques sit between the neurons and end up as dense clusters of beta amyloid molecules, a sticky type of protein that clumps together and forms plaques. The tangles are found inside the neurons of the brain, and they're caused by defective tau, T-A-U, proteins that clump up into a thick, insoluble mass. This causes tiny filaments called microtubules to get all twisted, which disrupts the transportation of essential materials such as nutrients and organelles along them. And so then it goes on to talk about the study, and what they're really using is just therapeutic ultrasound. That's a non-invasive, by the way. It's just a non-invasive beam. It's a sound wave into the brain tissue. And by oscillating super fast, these sound waves are able to gently open up the blood-brain barrier, which is a layer that this audience certainly knows that protects the brain against bacterium, and stimulate the brain's what are called microglial cells to activate. And the microglia cells are basically waste-removing cells, and so they're able to clear out the toxic beta amyloid clumps that are responsible for the worst symptoms of Alzheimer's. So the team reports fully restoring the memory function of 75% of the mice they tested on with zero damage to the surrounding brain tissue. And they found that the treating mice displayed improved performance in 3 memory tasks, and that's good. Well, what if instead of attaching these directly to the brain, what if they attached them along the meridians? What if they attached the ultra, very gentle but specific waves to the 365 meridians, including those that are known to impact the circulatory system and the nervous system, and hence increase microcirculation to the nervous system? They haven't done that yet, and they're working on mice. But if anyone from the University of Queensland would like some additional input, instead of mice, real people making improvements, we'll be happy to help them and share some insights. Now, I remember the first debate, major debate on arthritis I had was on WMCA radio, and it was with Barry Farber as the moderator, and I was taking the approach that foods and chemicals in foods and beverages could stimulate arthritis. And a person representing the American Arthritis Foundation, a neurologist, board-certified neurologist, said, nonsense. Quote, there is no association between anything a person would eat or not eat, drink or not drink, and arthritis. So determined were these true believers in the orthodox model that there was no association between diet and disease outside of Kwashiorkor or marasmus, extreme caloric restriction, that no doctors in the general mass of medicine, there were exceptions, but not the mass of doctors, believed that what you ate or what you drank made a difference. Well, now we have hundreds of papers published in a peer-reviewed journal showing just the opposite. This is the latest. Now, this I'm quoting from the American Arthritis Association. Quote, arthritis is a common problem in the United States, with the Center for Disease Control reporting that more than 52 million adults, nearly 300,000 children, living with some form of the disease. In fact, it is the number one cause of disability in the United States, limiting workability for approximately one-third of adults who have it. According to the Arthritis Foundation, arthritis costs Americans $156 billion every year in medical expenses and lost wages alone. Many people who live with the disease take arthritis medications to help alleviate the pain and avoid missing work or other obligations. Big Pharma, of course, is happy to oblige, having produced a wide variety of chemical cocktails that are promoted as remedies to arthritis pain and inflammation. One type of medication in particular, TNF, that's tumor necrosis factor, alpha blockers, are revered as wonder drugs for rheumatoid arthritis patients. Not surprisingly, however, these medications also carry serious risks that can lead to negative side effects, hospitalization, even death. The tumor necrosis factor inhibitors are an immunosuppressant given to the rheumatoid arthritis patients who experience the disease as an autoimmune condition. Since tumor necrosis factor plays a role in the immune system's natural defense system, the Food and Drug Administration approved these drugs for autoimmune treatment, which are sold in the United States under names like Humira and Enbrel. However, any drug that disturbs the body's immune system puts a person at risk for potentially nasty side effects. In the case of rheumatoid arthritis, tumor necrosis factor inhibitory drugs, the risks are significant and include a long list of infectious disease. Candida, herpes, and tuberculosis are just some of the infections appearing that are recognized for these drugs. So, once again, the people who follow a healthy, clean, wholesome diet, stay away from all animal proteins, all refined sugars, all artificial sweeteners, caffeinated beverages. You're not putting pro-inflammatory chemicals in your body, especially if you're not eating deep-fried foods and the French fries, pizzas, which cause inflammation, which then trigger the need for some form of intervention. And unfortunately, the vast majority of people are using chemical interventions, and that is what leads to using something that could end up causing tuberculosis. So, cleansing, juicing, detoxification, that will make a difference. And finally, the power of apple polyphenols. And by the way, every day I change the cleansing juices. One day it's lemon water in the morning and vegetables in the afternoon, and then fruit pectins in the evening. And then the next day it's apples, organic apple juice, whole apple juice, not from concentrate, and it has an enormous cleansing capacity. Well, this is the latest. Quote, spring green, golden, or red ruby apples have been treasured for centuries for the delicious taste. While the benefits of apples to human health is part of our common lore, most people can't tell you why. Beyond fiber and vitamin content and low glycemic index, apples' most significant benefits may well result from their polyphenol content. Polyphenols are plant compounds whose benefits are the subject of a good deal of research. Apple skin, in particular, is rich in several polyphenols, including a chemical which helps protect against glycation, the damaging cross-linkages between sugar and protein that aging human tissues endure. This polyphenol additionally maintains healthy blood sugar levels via the inhibition of an enzyme known as glucose 6-phosphatase. Chlorogenic acid, a compound that gives coffee some of its health benefits, is also present in apples. And the chlorogenic acid supports healthy glucose levels by inhibiting the enzyme glucose 6-phosphatase in addition to other mechanisms. It also supports weight loss in those who are overweight. And visceral fat, the belly fat, was reduced in polyphenol supplanted diets. Also, polyphenols support longevity. And in fact, it can reduce diseases of all kinds and was shown to extend the lifespan of the roundworm, yeast, and fruit flies. The E. elegans, apple polyphenols extended the average lifespan to an extent similar to resveratrol, compound found in red grapes and wine. These polyphenols appear to exert their benefit via their effect on sirtuins, a family of enzymes that are also affected by resveratrol. So, the takeaway message, they were right, an apple a day, but how about this? Why don't you try this? Why don't you take apples, peel them, organic apples, peel them, get the skins, and put the skin of 4 apples into a blender, and use that with 1 tablespoon of flaxseed, plus the handful of walnuts and the other nutrients that you put into your shake each morning, and see if that doesn't make a big difference. That's our health and nutrition segment.